Top of the hour. I think we're ready to get started. All right, so here we are, guys. This is our last presentation of the Quarantine Virtual Insights Conference, and thank you everyone who has attended, everyone who has presented. This has been great. It's far exceeded any expectations that we had about how this was going to go. It's been wildly popular, and we are really happy to have been able to bring some research nerds together and talk shop for the past couple of days. And we're going to end on a bang. Final presentation, and this is going to be, I'm skipping the rules. The rules are out the window at this point. Rule number one being we are at the mercy of the tech. Guess what? It's cooperated with us the whole time. This is ridiculous. We're tempting fate at this point, but we've got one left and feeling pretty good. So yeah, still be respectful. I think that's important, but you've already done the networking and engaging. So what more could we ask for? So on to our final presentation of the day. This is Beth Guido, Research Policy Program Manager at Facebook. She's going to be doing a talk on building a culture for policy within UX research. And this is going to be a bit of a pivot from the presentations we've had thus far, which have been sort of the hour-long webinar format. Beth's presentation is going to be more, quick hit. I think, the perfect talk for last of the day when everybody's starting to get a little bit tired. I think it's going to be a great change of pace. I will say that it being the final, and it's 6 p.m. here on the East Coast, so it's our conference cocktail hour. So if you drink them if you got them. I'm ready to go with my ale in a mason jar, of course, because we're in the South. I'm also using my coaster, which is repurposed floppy SPSS disk for no unsightly watermarks on the table. I'm going to get out of the way. I'm going to let Beth do her thing and have at it.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. So I'm knocking on wood that tech goes smoothly for my final talk as well. Let me go ahead and bring up my slides. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm thrilled to be closing out this quarantined virtual insights conference for you all. And I'm really excited in particular to bring you this lightning talk about policy within UX research and how we can build a culture within our teams that supports and promotes policy compliance in a way that empowers and enables great research. So first, just a little bit about me. My name is Beth Guido. I'm a research policy program manager at Facebook. I've been at the company for about 3.5 years now, and I'm a member of our central research program management team within our wider UX research operations organization. And I'm responsible for the array of both legal and best practice policies that our researchers follow when they are conducting product research studies. And my program primarily supports UX researchers, but does also provide guidance to other research functions in the company, marketing research, some survey science researchers, or functions that do research activities, but may not formally identify as researchers. And I also thought it might be helpful to share a bit more about our research program management team that I'm a part of and what we do. I know design operations as a function has become pretty well established, and research operations specifically is growing as well, albeit not quite as quickly. So within the context of research operations, our research program management team builds and scales programs to strengthen the impact of our amazing research team. And we do this in a number of different ways. So we see ourselves as knowledge managers, making sure that our researchers always have access to the right information and resources. We maintain our resources as sources of truth, and our philosophy is to ensure that researchers have relevant information at the right time to help them do their jobs. We're also connectors between researchers, teams, and information. So we aim to connect researchers with each other, which is incredibly important as our UX research team is quite large and distributed and has grown rather quickly in the last couple of years. And this can either be researcher to researcher, team to team, or pillar across pillar. And of course, connecting people to information, as I called out in the first point. We also, of course, as an operations team, operationalize our tools and our resources, particularly to ensure that they scale. Again, given the growth and size of our team, this is an incredibly important focus for us. And another focus of our team is ensuring infrastructure is built and is as efficient as possible. And again, of course, always with scalability in mind. And finally, we solve problems. And we do this primarily by addressing operational hurdles. And wherever possible, we really aim to take on the logistical challenges of research execution for researchers so that they can truly focus on research. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm responsible for our policies for UX research, which are designed to provide formal support and structure to make sure that how we're conducting research complies with our legal responsibilities to our users. And I'll speak a little bit more in a bit about how the program is structured to accomplish this. But I wanted to pause here and thought it would be important first to talk a little bit about the why, which is really key to everything that we're doing in this area. It's something that we come back to a lot as the space continues to evolve and evolve rather quickly. And it's also integral to how we communicate about policy within the research space. So I want to highlight here, why does research policy matter? Why is it important to researchers? Why is it also important to leadership and operations teams alike to think about? So first, protecting our users' privacy and data and ensuring that they have a positive experience when they're participating in research studies has always been incredibly important. And on the larger world stage, we've seen privacy and data protection become increasingly formalized around the world with regulation like the General Data Protection Regulation, or GDPR, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, enacted in the EU in May of 2018. The California Consumer Privacy Act, which came into effect at the beginning of this year for California specifically, and a number of other countries around the world that are looking to develop their own privacy laws as well. And second, as a research organization, we have a responsibility as the representatives of the people that use our products and services to not only be thought leaders and best in class when it comes to the quality and the rigor of the research that we do, but to foster a culture where we conduct research in a way that is thoughtful, compliant, and protects everybody involved. And I use the term culture really deliberately here. And we have a motto at Facebook that people say, and it's up on our walls throughout our buildings, that nothing is someone else's problem. And what this means is that every person at the company has a responsibility to take charge of solving problems and creating positive experiences for the people we build for across the world. And we take this to heart when it comes to research policies as well. And so every researcher owns applying policy guidance to each and every one of their studies. And we holistically bake guidance into the entire research lifecycle, from study design and recruitment to conducting our sessions, analyzing the data, and then sharing out those insights. There are policies applied and standardized processes for implementing those policies. And I sometimes describe it like this: if research were a relay race, the policies would essentially be the baton. And as a program manager, my goal is to continue to activate this culture and ensure that the policy program provides structure, support, and tools to make sure that our policies are not only effective, but also easy to follow. Which brings me to the structure of the policy program itself. So there are really 4 primary pillars. First is policy creation and development, which probably comes as no surprise. I spend much of my time collaborating really closely with our legal partners to understand the policies we need to follow, how they apply to research specifically, And once policies are identified or a change to an existing policy is identified, they move through a standardized development process, which ensures that each one is given the consideration it needs, is approved, and rolled out to the team successfully. Of course, also core to the work is educating the team and making sure researchers have easy access to resources and support. And this includes making sure our resources are always up to date and findable with consistent information, that source of truth, if you will, that I mentioned earlier, and that we're providing really robust live and on-demand training for both new and tenured researchers. And in order to make sure that our policies are not only compliant, but efficient and smooth for researchers to put into practice, we need to have the right tools and the systems in place to both support and streamline that process. So of course, infrastructure is incredibly valuable and important here, and we really focus on tooling and automation as much as we can to reduce the time researchers are spending, and we ourselves in operations are spending manually moving the processes forward. And finally, last but definitely not least, are relationships. So policy development is highly collaborative, and there are a number of teams who work with us to define and iterate on our policies, and this is an incredibly important component for the program. And if your team is looking to build out more formal support for policies, I'd recommend putting a lot of time and focus here in particular, and spending that time building and establishing the partnerships you need to make progress. Building strong two-way relationships with our partners cross-functionally across legal, policy, comms, et cetera, has been really key to this program's success. And just to give you a quick idea of some of the things that require policy, I'd spoken a little bit before at a high level on policies touching the entire research life cycle, but for some more specifics, these include things like considerations for when research will be talking about or asking sensitive research questions on sensitive topics, the participant management process and cycle and how people receive invitations for research, helping them understand what they're participating in and what will happen with the feedback that they provide. Considerations whenever we're working with our research partners. We partner with many different research firms here in the US and across the world. And so there's lots of considerations there. And of course, thinking about how our insights are shared with our product teams, everything from how we create our findings and put together our readouts to how they're shared, how they're stored, and how we protect them. And I mentioned earlier that this work is really highly collaborative. And I wanted to give a bit of the sense of the scope and the scale when I talk about this collaboration. And one of the reasons why I highlighted that it's one of these areas that I would recommend dedicating resources and time and people to. So, this is not an exhaustive list, but a list of a lot of the teams that either provide input and approval, teams that need education and support, or in general plug into the policy creation lifecycle. So, of course, our own operations team and ops teams across the company, researchers, of course, leadership, marketing, comms, legal, privacy, policy, and even within UX research itself, my stakeholders are a pretty varied group. On the research side, we have ICs, managers, and leadership. Buy-in is really needed at all levels, and for everybody to pitch in for this to be successful. And of course, my operations team, which as I mentioned, does a lot of the work to build the infrastructure that supports our policy. And again, just to highlight that two-way street. So where, I am reaching out to these teams to get guidance on the policies we need to be following. They also reach out to our organization for more understanding and insight into how research works, what research needs. So it really is that kind of two-way collaborative partnership there. And I'm also regularly working to raise awareness of our policies and how to follow them. And again, this happens both within the UX research team, particularly as we bring new researchers up to speed. But a big focus of this work is ensuring that we're standardizing our approach across all research functions at the company as well. And when I'm helping a new team onboard, my primary message first and foremost is that research policies are a good thing. They're not meant to be a blocker, but rather to enable research safely and effectively in a way that's best for our researchers and our users. So when there are questions about our policies and why they're here, again, that why question, I offer 3 points of view. So first, we want to be good research citizens and make sure that when people are participating in research, they have a positive experience. And we want to make sure that we advocate as researchers and as the people on the front lines talking to the people that use our services and our products, that we're advocating for them. And our policies are how we proactively protect them. And finally, we want to be best in class in how we execute research. And as I talked about earlier, part of this is ensuring that the quality and the rigor of our research is high. But the other piece of this, again, is having our policies in place that make sure that the research we do is done thoughtfully and in a compliant and safe way. So just to wrap up, ultimately, it's our responsibility to be compliant and protect our users. And one of the best ways to do this is to embed policies into every phase of the research lifecycle and foster that culture where everybody feels ownership in this space. Thanks.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Checking to see if we have any Q&A before we let you go. We'll give them a minute.
No problem.
This is a quick one, and we've had 2 days chock full of a lot of content, so I think everybody's getting a little gassed at this point.
I understand. Thought this would be a good just button.
Oh, it was fantastic. Good exclamation point on our conference. So
I know we've got our happy hour coming up next. So since I was the last to kick it off, I did bring.
Ready to go? Okay.
Did bring my cocktail hour cocktail.
I didn't finish mine while you were talking, so that's good. All right, are we ready? We're gonna clink these.
Link.
All right. If anybody else is clinking on the on the chat, please let us know. Otherwise, I think that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah. To answer everyone's question, I know a lot of people have been asking about conference recordings. We will absolutely be sending out archived versions of all of the presentations. Give us a day or two to pull all that together and get everything posted. Oh, wait. Doug is coming through with a question, so we'll not sign off just yet. Okay, what types of measures do you take to make sure the research experience is good for respondents?
That's an excellent question. So within our operations organization, we have an entire team dedicated to the participant management experience. So they're thinking about the whole holistic cycle from the first time someone receives an invitation to participate in research, what that messaging is, what that experience is like, all the way through when someone's participated in a session, what is the sign off, and throughout the process, making sure that we're incredibly clear and transparent and communicative with them in the touch points that we have to make sure that they fully understand what they're participating in, that they're comfortable participating, that they're given an opportunity to opt out if they change their mind, and just making sure that from the very start of a research session all the way through to the end, that they're comfortable every step of the way. And our researchers receive training in this area. Our participant management team does a great job with the resources there because, our product teams thrive off of the feedback that we get. We couldn't do this without our users participating in research, and it's really critical to us having impact in that space. So we focus pretty heavily and dedicate a lot of resources to making sure people have a good experience.
Awesome. I think that's it for questions. So I'm just going to quickly thank Beth, thank all of our presenters this week, thank all of our attendees. This has been great. You guys have been wonderful, staying very engaged. Much appreciated. It's crazy times, and I think this was, a good distraction. So, thanks for keeping us busy and helping us nerd out for a little while.
Thank you for having me.
Peace out, everybody. Bye, kids.
Bye.